I'm Ashton, and we are the Nerds in Flannel. Welcome to our favorite religious holiday, everyone, besides Christmas and Easter and all that other stuff.
We should be clear about that.
We should be very clear, but our other favorite religious holiday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Whoa.
That wasn't even planned.
No, that was not even planned. That was nice.
That was smooth.
Sick.
When you started committing, I was like, this is happening.
I knew what was happening.
This is freaking happening. Yeah. Welcome.
Yes, happy May the 4th. If you don't know what that is, it's Star Wars Day. Obviously, no, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. You guys got it. Anyways, if you're listening to this, you probably know what it is.
Yeah.
We just wanted to talk about Star Wars a little bit because it is probably my favorite movie franchise.
It's mine too.
Even though, like, we don't talk about episode 9. It's okay. It's okay. Episode 8's the best. Just saying. Anyways,
Whoa, hey.
Anyways.
I'm gonna go all Anakin Skywalker.
Yes. So, yeah, for context, we have our lightsabers because it's Star Wars Day and, might as well... Here, listen.
And if you can guess what lightsabers those are, bonus points.
Yeah. They're opposites. I'll give you that hint.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about Star Wars and how much it means to us, and rank them all.
Not just the men, but the women and the children too. We're ranking them all.
Okay, bud. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay, we got off tangent, man. Okay.
Very much.
So Ashton, when was the first time you watched Star Wars that you can remember?
So the first time I watched it, I was 10 years old.
10 years old. Okay.
My dad was like, you know what? There comes a time in a man's life where everyone has to just watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he showed them to me in what I still consider to be the proper order by release.
Okay.
Even though I respect the chronological, that's how I usually watch them. But I think for the first time, watching them theatrical makes the most sense.
I think so. If for those who don't know, it's 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Even though back then 7, 8, 9 weren't a thing yet.
Yeah.
They weren't a thing for like another 5 years. That's actually kind of crazy to think about. Anyway, yeah. I remember being in love with Star Wars even way before that because I had watched like the Clone Wars and stuff on TV, and me and my best friends, we always just kind of like hung out, and like he had all this like Lego Star Wars and just all this stuff. So I actually already knew a lot about Star Wars coming into watching it, but it was just like, whoa, it blew my mind even back then. And like the first movie came out in like what, 1974 or something? 77.
So it's 50 years this year.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Or 50 or 45?
50. Isn't it 50? Wait, no, what year is it? So it's 50. You're right.
Wait.
45. You're right because it's 77. I'm just
something like that.
I just can't math. No, it'd be 45.
45. And that it was released May 25th. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, because that's when May 25th, 1977. That's pretty dope.
Dude, like Star Wars has been like a huge part of my life. I know it sounds weird, but like it's what my dad and I talk about. It's like what all my other friends talk about. It's just like become this part of my life where it's like, if I don't watch Star Wars, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
It sounds really nerdy, but it's true. I dressed up as Darth Vader for Halloween one year, and I've gone to every Star Wars midnight release since. Well, that I've been old enough to go to. Yeah, it's.
How old were you when you first started?
Young. My dad probably sat me in front of the TV when I was like 3 or something. I don't remember.
Dang.
The first thing I remember about Star Wars was watching it when I was like 5. I think I watched Empire when I was 5.
Yo.
And I probably had no idea what was going on. All I remember is lightsaber. Man gets his hand cut off. End. So, yeah, no, and then as I got older, you start watching them, you start analyzing them because it's like your favorite thing at the time. And, yeah, dude, Star Wars is awesome, man.
Dude, it's... Honestly, I think if it weren't for Star Wars, I wouldn't even really be a nerd. Like, I think
so.
I'd probably just be more of a casual. I think when we say nerd, we're not meaning like, oh, we're super into like Marvel and DC. It means like we're into like all these things in depth more than just the movies.
Yeah.
Most people I talk to that claim to be nerds only know about like the movies, but like I think a true definition is like, you get into all these things.
You know the lore,
and
you dress up.
you dress up, you have the passion for it, and Star Wars really invigorated that passion a lot more. Wow, that was a fancy word.
Whoa,
Ooh.
dude, we're getting big.
We're getting big now.
Yeah, because I started reading the books, and when I was like grade 4 or 5, because they had it in my library, and I'm like, yeah, bro, let's go. At my school library, so I would take it out every week. Yeah, I think once you get into like reading the lore and like trying to do research on like, hey, what is Luke Skywalker's code name in episode 4? So it's Red 5.
Red 5.
If you know, like, yeah, it's pretty easy trivia. Like, who's Porkins? Poor Porkins.
Poor Porkins.
Poor Porkins.
R.I.P. Porkins.
Yeah. I think once you hit that, it's kind of like you go into a deeper understanding. Like Ashton said, like some people just watch the movies and like watch the TV shows and that, but that's the surface really. Like once you get into what's it called, like playing the video games, reading Reddit posts about it, I think it changes your perspective on like how you can think about a thing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do like honestly, if I put much effort into like school as I did with like Star Wars, like Marvel stuff, I would have straight A's, man.
Dude, you'd be at Harvard.
Dude, yeah, we'd be at Harvard.
We'd be at Harvard. Dang.
It's crazy. But also Star Wars is probably what got me into like films in the first place, especially Episode 5. Just the way it was shot, because it's different from 4. Because when 4 came out, it wasn't even named 4. It was just named Star Wars, and then they're like, oh, let's make a sequel. I don't know why. I forgot why they named it 4. I kind of forgot why.
Like, why they named it 4 or why they named it A New Hope?
Why they, like, started having the subtitle, like, 4 A New Hope.
I think it's because George Lucas already kind of knew what he wanted to do. Like, he was already planning out the prequels.
Okay.
By the time he kind of had...
Poorly planning, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's fair. But by the time he kind of had all this other stuff going, he was planning out, like, ooh, let's do a sequel. And then, ooh, let's make this a trilogy. Oh, and wouldn't it be cool if we did a backstory on Anakin, since he's kind of the central figure, or I want to make him the central figure more. Even though, back then everyone would think, oh, the main character in Star Wars is obviously Luke. But he had different plans.
Yes. Different from all of ours.
Different, yeah. Yeah, yo, we should like, let's talk about the trilogies. Because, like...
All right, let's do it.
So we've been talking a lot about the originals, and that's because they were the first ones we saw. They were our first exposure.
And we love them.
And we love them dearly. They're honestly, even if you're not a nerd or a Star Wars fan, if you claim to like movies, you would have had to already see these, because
at least one of them.
At least one of them, because they are so, like, yeah, just historical. George Lucas really brought on a lot of the practical effects, and kind of also paved the way for CGI. So if it weren't even for these movies, then, and I know there's probably like a lot of like, jealous girlfriends out there where they're not getting enough attention because their boyfriends are nerds.
Sorry,
I'm not
Chanel.
speaking from experience.
Sorry, man. So sorry.
Dang. Dang.
Sorry, Chanel.
But like, if you say you hate Star Wars and like you wish it didn't exist
I hate
for
you.
those reasons, and I'm not speaking to you, Chanel, don't worry. I know you appreciate this stuff. But yeah, I think just understanding the impact it's had on movies as a whole is really important.
Yes. Like, I think, I can't remember what big director got into like movies because of Star Wars. And then he won. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Star Wars has been so influential, especially with the summer blockbuster scene.
Yeah.
Huge, because Jaws came out in 1975, I believe, and then that kind of started it. But like, Star Wars made it take off. Yeah. Dude, like I read a lot of stuff online and like read a lot of books about filmmaking, and it just like, Star Wars is always talked about because it's probably the most influential franchise ever. I mean, come on, Disney bought it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later, what Disney did with it. But it's huge, and there's a reason why a lot of people love it, because it does feel like it's an escape from like just our normal world, and it takes us into this galaxy far, far away, and the stories are great, depending on what story it is. I honestly, I think the books are better than the sequels and the prequels, but that's just me.
That's fair.
And the
I would
video
agree
games
with
are a
that.
lot better too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting just seeing how much clout I guess the whole franchise has, but it's well deserved.
yes,
I don't think Star Wars is like considered overrated because of the
never.
historical impact alone. And you know, it's honestly just it's a gem. It's a historical gem. I yeah, I love it. And I think it's interesting too how you can even see a lot of the technical advancements that were made from the first film to the third. And when I say third, I mean Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
Because like, dude, they had like already moved on with a lot of the different practical effects and CGI and lighting. I think like part of the reason in A New Hope, the only reason like the reason you see a red lightsaber and a blue lightsaber were because those were the only two colors that were possible to do. And by the time Return of the Jedi came around, which you know he was supposed to have a blue lightsaber, Luke was, but they kind of noticed, especially for the Tatooine scenes, that it was really hard to see the color blue, so they made it green. But by that point, they had the knowledge, the know-how, the technology to actually do that, mess with those colors more, and a lot of the sequences in Return of the Jedi benefit from having that. I'd say
and that's my favorite lightsaber, the green one.
the green
It's
one,
so good,
it's so good.
so good. Um, yeah. So let's talk. Okay, we talked enough about the OG trilogy. Let's talk about the prequels.
Okay,
Love them or hate them.
so I respect them.
That's a good word. I like that.
Which I know a lot of people don't respect them, but I think you kind of have to as a Star Wars fan because George
Yeah.
Lucas took the whole overarching idea of Star Wars and really put a lot more of the building blocks and the foundations into that trilogy. What about yourself?
Um, personally, I don't like them. Just because it really takes away from what Star Wars is.
Okay.
I know that that's a hot take. I spit a lot of hot takes on this podcast. But I do love Episode 3.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie, and there's a lot of flaws in it, but it still makes up for a lot of it. I think the one thing the prequels are most hated for is making Darth Vader a wuss. He's just this farmer kid. I mean, that's kind of who like Luke Skywalker is too, but I it kind of just ruins character for a lot of people, and I get that. But I also think I find the prequels boring.
That's fair.
It's a lot of talking. I mean,
It's a lot of dialogue.
yeah, George Lucas kind of wanted these movies to be more like political dramas, and I get it. I get like galactic senates and everything, but there wasn't much of that in the original trilogy. It was just like there's a bad guy, there's a good guy, they're in a war. Star Wars. Episode 1 to 2, there's no war, really. I mean, that's not true.
Well, the Clone Wars starts at the end of episode 2, so there still really
Yeah.
isn't. And then it ends in episode 3.
There's not
so
much
you're
conflict.
you're
Yeah.
deprived of a war.
That's true. I mean, the movies are good. It's just like I personally, if I had a choice, I'd rather watch the sequels.
Oh, he
But-
said it. He said it. He said it.
But we'll get into that.
Mute this man's mic.
Yeah, mute the mic. There's only one mic, bro.
Dang it.
Yeah. So that's a hot take. That's a really hot take.
Dang. Yeah, you know, I I think there were a lot of things that went wrong with the prequels. And I think even like the most hardcore prequel fans would still have to accept that fact because you know, the prequels have kind of become sort of a meme and you only really meme movies if they're either A really good or B there's a lot going on with them
There's no in
and it's
between.
because of the memes that people like them.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened with the prequels a lot more recently. But yeah, it was interesting because some of the background on the prequels was by this point, Star Wars had become this really big name, really big trilogy, and George Lucas wanted to do another one, obviously, and he'd been planning this out for a while, planning out the story, but he kind of went full tyrant and took complete 100% control over everything. And also like some of the people who had been working with him had been like weren't with him anymore. Like his ex-wife really helped with a lot of the story for Empire, for example.
Right.
But then they kind of went through a divorce during that. And
Not kind of. They went through
they
a divorce.
they did. uh and yeah, so he kind of was the only one calling a lot of these shots,
that did help.
and it did not help. I think as a creative, if you kind of let a lot of that popularity go to your head, you're just setting yourself up to fail. It's better to work as a team.
Always better to get a second opinion on something, no matter what
Exactly.
it is.
100%. It's like letting someone check over your paper before you submit it, because they're going to see
Exactly.
things you don't, or read a different way that you don't.
Yes.
And I think George Lucas in his mind had a like this whole thing of, oh, this is how I want it to go, and there was just a lot of cleanup they had to do after. And even with how they filmed it, they took advantage of a lot of CGI, and it's kind of over CGI'd for me.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of miniature stuff too. But the way that yeah. So, the miniatures are used in wide shots, but everything else, like character wise, the backdrops are CGI, and I think that really takes away from the charm of the original trilogy. I know. Okay, I know we keep comparing it, but it's really hard not to, just
Yeah.
because it's the same story technically, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's what the sequels do really bad.
Yeah. And if you're just taking the original trilogy and the prequels, it's very understandable why people hate the prequels.
Yes.
And again, like this was a time of new technology. Digital film was becoming this really big thing, and you could do so much stuff with it. But it hadn't really evolved to a point where it was going to age that well. Unfortunately, I think like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, for example, came out around the same time, and they did a much better job balancing their CGI with their practical effects.
Yeah.
And I will always respect that trilogy for that.
Thank you.
Yes, just so you know, we don't completely hate them, but again, like there was just a lot wrong with how the prequels were done. I actually don't mind the idea that Anakin was like an angsty teenager. Hot take.
Okay, neither do I, but like it's just executed poorly.
It was executed poorly, and I think a lot of people had expectations because of a bunch of the books and stuff that had been coming out, and because Darth Vader was really this like big bad, humanizing him and then putting him into that was just for a lot of people not what they were expecting for all these years. I personally think it works, partly because of also what the Clone Wars added after, which really helped flesh out the story of Anakin during the Clone Wars, and that's kind of when you see a lot more of the development. Like the prequels are intended to show you what he was like as a kid, kind of like the dreamer, the potential of a hero, and then Attack of the Clones is kind of like this angsty teenager stage, but he also starts showing a lot of darkness and a lot of hurt and pain. And then Episode 3 is kind of like where he takes that fall. But to kind of get the full story, you also need to see in the Clone Wars how like he's fighting a war. He's like this war hero. A lot of this stuff is going to his head, but he's also very tired, very emotional, and yeah, he's
still learning at that.
He's still learning, and he really shouldn't have been elevated to that position. And I think that's something George Lucas showed perfectly. If you watch the Clone Wars and then also watch like Revenge of the Sith after. And fun fact, George Lucas, the last big Star Wars thing he worked on was the Clone Wars.
Yes. I think the Clone Wars is probably the best thing that's happened to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because it really gives us a side of like Obi-Wan and Anakin that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Especially as Anakin being like a master to Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then that leads into another storyline that's really like popular and that's really good because Ahsoka is a dynamic character and she's very loved by all the fans.
Yeah.
And obviously with her getting her own TV show, it's going to be even bigger and fans love her for a reason because she's really well written and yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of, her story is kind of like what Anakin could have been.
Right.
And that's kind of what makes it a lot more depressing about Darth Vader's fall. is he was the one that taught her, mentored her, and this is what happened with her. And yeah, I think, you know, if you watch like episodes 1 and 2, and then you watch the Clone Wars, and then when you watch 3, especially the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars in season 7, it's like it fits together so perfectly. You fall in love with the characters more and with the franchise, but just alone as a trilogy without anything else coming in, the prequels, you can still respect them, but they're just not good movies alone. You kind of
Right.
need a lot of that background, which is kind of, you know, with the original trilogy, you didn't need any of that. They didn't have to build anything in. And I love the Clone Wars so much. I put it pretty high on my favorite TV shows list. Go listen to that episode, by the way.
Yeah, go listen.
And yeah, I think, you know, you should really, like, if you're a prequel hater, watch the Clone Wars and then come back, and then things will change.
Yes.
Should we move on to the dark and horrible, disgusting sequels?
No. Okay, let me introduce the sequels here. 2015. Wait, what's it 2015?
2015.
2015. The Force Awakens comes out, and it's actually pretty good. I mean,
It was pretty good.
it's not great, but it's just like it's such a refresher after like the prequels because it looks great. The characters are actually good,
Yep.
and you know it's just a good movie. Finn is such a wasted character in these movies.
Yeah.
Because like an ex stormtrooper who like feels the Force is such a gripping and like really interesting story, and then they do nothing with it.
Me and my friends made fan theories about that growing up as a kid. We were just like, yo, wouldn't it be cool if like a stormtrooper could force choke or wield a lightsaber or whatever?
What a waste.
And friggin' yeah, I'm. I
Yeah,
don't. I don't
Max
have
disappointed.
problems. I don't have problems. Anger problems. I'm not gonna smash my glass desk right now.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And then episode 8, The Last Jedi, is when things change. I've never seen a fan base so divided on a movie.
Yeah.
Because Ashton hates that movie. And I think that movie is probably the best one in the trilogy. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It is the second best looking movie in Star Wars.
I agree with that.
It is the second best. And I'll tell you which one which is the best one later. But
Okay.
yes, it's the second best looking one. I feel like Ryan Johnson had a vision. And his vision was so different from everyone else's vision. Because Ryan Johnson, who directed what was it? Colossal. No, he didn't. No, it wasn't
Looper.
Colossal. Sorry?
Looper as well.
Looper. It wasn't Colossal. It was something else. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he is a director who doesn't tell, who doesn't want to show like his hand with what he's doing. He kind of wants to like twist the audience's theories and like really get them thinking, because Looper is a very thought driven movie. If you haven't seen that, watch it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis, very good. He doesn't like he plays with your emotions, and I think that's what Star Wars fans hate.
Yeah.
They love to theorize, but then when they're wrong, they hate it, which I don't get. I'm one of those guys who just like, I want this like thoughtful Star Wars drama, and I think that's what The Last Jedi for me was. There's a lot of problems wrong with it. Like, talk about character suicide with Luke Skywalker. But I think it's probably okay, I think I ranked it top 4 because I love that movie. Like, it's a hot take. I came out of that theater for opening day, and I'm like, that was so good. That was really good. Man, I wrote a review about that on Instagram, but I took it off a long time ago.
Good call. No, kidding.
Fight me, kid. No, it's really good. I love that movie, and I get why people hate it, but you know, that's just me. No, I hate the Rise of Skywalker.
Same. We can agree on that one.
It's so bad. Okay, like they brought Palpatine back, and then didn't explain how or why he came back, and then we come from Ryan Johnson wanting to make Ray Skywalker nobody, because that movie was just about anyone can have the Force. Everyone can feel the Force. The Force isn't everything. It is a living entity that's floating around the universe, and then J.J. Abrams is just like, nah, bro. Nah, you have to be like a Skywalker to, feel the Force and have the Force, which is not great. I feel like Star Wars is best when it's its own story. And I get it's a trilogy, I get that it's a saga, but the reason why people love The Mandalorian in season 1 so much is because it's independent. There's no fans. There's barely any fan service in that movie, in that show. And then season 2 is pretty much just fan service. Same with Boba Fett. I think the best part about, Star Wars is a contained story with just simple characters, a simple story that doesn't go outside the bounds of craziness too much.
That's fair.
And yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I think.
Star Wars, man.
Here's kind of how I would plot out what happened with the sequel trilogy. So Disney bought Star Wars like 2 years before.
They didn't have a plan.
Yeah, exactly. They bought it 2 years before The Force Awakens came out. And they were just like, oh, we need to pump out a movie. Now, George Lucas had been working on a script. And the script involved Darth Maul being the main villain and Luke having a successful Jedi temple, but Darth Maul came in with his new apprentice and she was going to wreak havoc on everything. There's going to be this epic battle with Maul and Luke and everything.
I'll have that movie, please.
I mean, George Lucas, I think a lot of people and probably a lot of the minds at Disney looked at the script and were like, we don't want what happened with the prequels. We just kind of want to do our own thing. They took a lot of inspiration, such as having kind of like a female main lead.
My bad, bro. My bad.
It's okay. I had to light mine too.
Continue. My bad. That's my accident. It's very sensitive button here. My bad.
It's okay. But yeah, they took a lot of inspiration from that, but they didn't quite capture the vision. Lucas sold them the script too. Like he was willing to like come in and help produce and stuff. He just didn't have the time because he wanted to he wanted to spend time with his kids, and he said a trilogy takes about 10 years.
Yeah.
And he didn't have that time. He wanted to use it for other things, which is respectable. I respect people that put their family first above that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when Disney had it, they were like, oh, we're going to get these like A-list directors and we're going to just, kind of let them lead Star Wars. And what happened was J.J. Abrams was first up with The Force Awakens. Let's get the Star Trek guy. Great. That's probably my favorite movie in the sequel trilogy. But the problem is there's so much similarities between A New Hope that you're kind of like, haven't we done this already? Like Star Wars is supposed to be new and interesting. Say what you will about the prequels, but at least that was different than...
Different in a bad way. Different in a bad way.
It was a lot different than... They George Lucas wasn't, he took risks, and even if they didn't flesh out, at least he took risks. But again, sometimes the safe way is the best way, and J.J. Abrams did it. Oh gosh, there's a red lightsaber by my face. I'll fight you.
Oh, fight me right now.
I'll fight you.
Oh,
I'll fight you.
Oh my. This is going on the pod. Oh my
It's
God.
going on the pod.
Oh my goodness.
Impromptu fight. I should have done this when you were talking about The Last Jedi. Yeah. So, hey, watch that clip on Instagram. Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Sorry, guys. We're nerds.
We're nerds. Yeah. And then, when The Last Jedi came out, it was obvious then that Disney had no plan no overall direction.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of the reason that the other side of the Star Wars fandom was split was because a lot of people, and my dad's included in this, he saw Star Wars when it came out. I think your dad did too, hey?
Yeah, he saw it like 9 times.
Yeah.
He flexes that so hard.
It's great. And I know, like, speaking, even from to my dad about it after like the original trilogy, people didn't really care as much about Anakin. They wanted more Luke.
Yeah.
And having Mark Hamill come back as Luke was like crazy. And, with The Force Awakens, them not putting Luke in until the end was like such a mind-blowing thing, because it's like, whoa, like, it's trying to be its own thing. It's trying to establish it, and it's going to use Luke in some way. And there's just so much potential there. And Rian Johnson was like, hey, we're gonna flip-flop this stuff. And to be clear, I don't think he's a bad director. I respect him. I really love his movies. I just don't think he was the right choice to do Star Wars. Now I can understand how, like, I agree with what Nat said. Like, a lot of the Star Wars fandom, we we don't we don't like it when we're not right. And I see that a lot. But sometimes to keep a fandom happy, you gotta have that sometimes. Uh, and I think what happened with it was it only made things worse for the time the ninth movie came out. Rain Johnson kind of redid Finn's whole hero arc in The Force Awakens, where he's this reluctant hero, kind of taking from that whole Han Solo thing, and then he redid it again in The Last Jedi, and people were like, we're kind of tired of this.
Yeah.
And then in Rise of Skywalker, it's like cool. So like Finn is barely developed. Rey is this nobody in a Skywalker saga, and I agree that she should have remained a nobody, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And Luke's dead. So like the three big things with all these heroes, the only real character that they could utilize was Poe, and he didn't have as much development either that we would have liked.
No.
And Leia, but if Carrie Fisher had passed away by the time they started filming, which unfortunate, rest in peace.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, Chewie, let's fan service this out. Let's give Chewie a medal.
Man almost died.
Man's almost died. I genuinely thought he was dead.
Me too, bro.
That was one of the good things about that movie. I think was like the surprise of that.
I think they should have killed him off. Hot take. They should have killed him.
I think so. Let him die a hero like that.
Give him his medal and let him die.
And let Rey learn from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they went about trying to fix all the stuff that the fandom hated about what The Last Jedi did, and it was horrible because that whole movie was clean up. It was so fan servicey. I think that at that point they should have just let Rain Johnson complete some of the stuff he had envisioned, or even let Colin Trevorrow, like, is that his last name? I forget.
Colin Trevorrow,
something like that.
The Jurassic World guy.
Because he was set and he had a script for 9. And it was really good. It was really good. It had like a whole Mustafar thing. It was gonna like go into some of the more in depth with like Vader's relationship with Kylo, and there was like a potential Force Ghost cameo from him. And Disney was like, you know what? We don't have time for this. We need to fix what happened. And they shouldn't have done that. They should have just let it be. And it might have been a lot better. I think, even reusing Palpatine, I get it. Ian McDermott's still alive. He's a great actor, but you don't need to bring him back.
This is true. Yeah.
And, continuing on with the whole clone thing, I thought that was cool, but it didn't really work in that context with, having a Sith Lord, and it was crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
We've been ranting about it for so long.
We've been ranting. So, Nat, how would you rank all the trilogies?
Okay, trilogy or movies? Go. How about we do trilogies first?
Trilogies first, and then movies.
For me, it's the original trilogy 4, 5, 6, and then the sequels will go 7, 8, 9, and then the prequels 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I know. I know.
2 over 3.
What do you mean?
Wait, were you ranking the movies in there, or
I
just
was ranking the trilogies.
just the
I
trilogies?
we'll do movies after. What about you?
Okay, I would go with originals, so 4, 5, 6, and then I'd do prequels.
Okay, yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then sequels.
Okay, now movies, including Solo and Rogue One.
Okay, I have a list.
I have my list memorized.
Oh shoot!
My least favorite one is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Then we'll go number 9, Rise of Skywalker. We'll go 1, Phantom Menace. We'll go 8. No, not 8. What did I say? Did you say 3 yet? 3, Revenge of the Sith. We'll go 6, Return of the Jedi. Where am I? 7, Force Awakens. We'll go Solo. A Star Wars Story. We'll go number 8, Last Jedi. This is tough. Top 3. Probably Rogue One will be 3.
Better get this right.
Yeah. Episode 4 is number 2, and Jedi's number. No. You know what? Frick this. Crap. He's got a lightsaber to my throat. No, you know what? We'll go Empire number 2. because I feel like Star Wars Episode 4 is a perfect movie almost. Pretty perfect. The first one.
That's fair.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! We got a camera. It's gonna kill me. Yeah. So top 3 is Rogue One at 3. Number 2 is Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, and then we'll go number 1 is number 4, Episode 4, A New Hope.
Okay. Respectable in some
Yeah,
ways.
that's hard to do with memory. Which one haven't I talked about yet?
Yeah, for real. And I'll say something. The sequel trilogy has the potential to be better than the prequels if they can get kind of like a show treatment like what they did with the Clone Wars, where they cleaned everything up. It was easier to do with the Clone Wars, though. It's going to be a lot more challenging with the sequels. So the way I would rank things, starting from last, is Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do... You know what? I'm going to do... Last Jedi. I kind of feel like... And
no!
there's a lot of things I like about the movie, but I think overall, with how I feel about... Like, if I were ranking all these movies based off of other factors, it would be way higher. Like, it would probably be top 4 or 5. Because I'm ranking it with the overall Star Wars story in mind, the way it took Star Wars was just a red flag for me.
Put number 1 above number 8.
Yeah.
What a joke.
At least we got Duel of the Fates.
That's true. Duel of Fates is fire, bro.
Yeah. And then for 9 I have The Phantom Menace. And then for 8 I have The Force Awakens. Then 7 Solo. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that up. 7 is going to be Attack of the Clones. 6 is going to be Solo.
Thank goodness.
And then I'm going to do Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and Empire.
Okay. Respectable. You got it right.
That's fair.
That's respectable. Number 9 and number 8 at the bottom.
Yeah.
Number 9 at the bottom, I understand, because I put that second last.
Yeah. I think I don't care if you're a sequel lover. You probably were a little confused with what happened with 9. I think a lot of people can agree on that. Hopefully. Yeah.
Ashton, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's Star Wars trivia.
Dope.
I didn't know this till the other day, so I want to see if you can get this right.
Okay.
What is the name of General Grievous's flagship, which was not mentioned in the movies?
Frick.
Dude, if you get this right, I'll be genuinely impressed. Genuinely. Man,
Are we talking about the Malevolence from the Clone Wars? Or
his flagship?
His flagship. The Malevolence was his flagship at one point.
It was. So it'll be the one in episode 3 at the beginning. So what's the name of that?
Frick, I don't know.
It's called the Invisible Hand. The Invisible Hand. The Invisible Hand.
Dang.
That's weird. I know. I didn't know that either.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Dang.
All right. I think that's it for our May the 4th Be With You podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, let me let her say this one more time. I'm sorry if you hear this in the background. Like, it was just really sensitive trigger. Ooh. Are we clipping? Oh, whatever.
It's fine.
If you're listening with headphones, we apologize. All right, guys. Is that it? Anything else?
I think it's it. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
What are your spicy hot takes from Star Wars? Let us know.
Yes. Comment on YouTube or, DM us, Instagram. at North of Final Podcast. We have episodes coming up. Very excited for next week.
Yes.
Also, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness on Friday.
Yes, sir.
We will be coming out with episode that day to give you an exclusive sneak peek, I guess, if you are going to see it that day. But yeah, we're very excited. Ashton's losing sleep, and I'm just excited.
Yeah, I haven't slept in days, guys.
Until next time, I'm Nat.
And I'm Ashton, and we are the Nerds in Flannel. Peace.